Hello everybody, Mark here, and welcome to week 4 of season 4 of the NPCC. Your Vulpix City are 2-1, coming off the back of a nice victory last week, and this week we are going up against Iyokuu and his Blackthorn City Frogadiers. But before we go into the team builder, I did make a few free agency transactions, so I just want to really quickly go over those before anything else. I did drop my Klefki, my Serperia and my Blaziken. Had to get rid of old Jingle Mary and Lilu, unfortunately. Really what I thought my team needed was a lot more speed. And granted I had drafted a Serperia, but I'm losing a Pokemon that you very rarely invest speed into. A base 113 and a base 80 for Lovely Horse, the Cobalion, Blossom the Whimsicott and Polonia the Salazzle. So that's 109 base speed, 118, 117. I've also kept a hold of every single typing that I've dropped, which is really nice, and I've added another poison type, so fairies are much less likely to do really well against my team. So yeah, just wanted to quickly go over those before getting into the proper team builder, and as you're about to find out, a couple of the new members are coming to this matchup. So I'll just jump quickly into the team builder. Gonna try and do this a little bit quicker than I have been. So yeah, my new roster consists of Landorus, Mega Manectric, Fortress, Cresselia, Jellicent, Drapion, Salazzle, Braviary, Cobalion, Whimsicott and Masquerain. Since I dropped Blaziken, which was my Super Z-move user, I decided to make Cobalion my Super Z-move user, which I think is pretty wise. Whether it'll be great as a Super Z-move user, maybe not so much, but the fact that it's a Z-move user in general is fantastic. Z-move Cobalion is a pretty big threat, so I'm happy to have it. And obviously, as you can see, my other Z-move user is Landorus. Iyokuu's team consists of Mega Charizard X, Tapu Bulu, Starmie, Nidoking, Silvally, any type, you can bring any type of Silvally, Diancie, Bisharp, Rotom Frost, Togetic, Garbodor and Sneasel. His Super Z-move user is Silvally and his offensive Z-move user is Bisharp. Now going into team building, I think like anybody would be, terrified of the Mega Charizard X and Tapu Bulu. More than anything else, they were a huge problem to prep for my team. I could handle the Tapu Bulu to a degree because I have my Fortress and I have a Cobalion and I can offensively check it with things like my Salazzle. The Mega Charizard X, on the other hand, was a lot more difficult to prep for. But I think I managed to build a team that can handle those two and any combination of 6 that you could bring out of the rest. Starmie is a bit of a problem, but I do have things like Cresselia, same with Nidoking. Cresselia walls that thing for the most part. I'm glad to see that the Z-move users are not Tapu Bulu and Starmie, for example. I think Z-move Silvally and Z-move Bisharp are a lot easier for my team to handle. He does have hazard setters in the form of Nidoking with Stealth Rock and Toxic Spikes, Diancie with Stealth Rock, Bisharp with Stealth Rock, Garbodor with Spikes and Toxic Spikes, and he has hazard removal in the form of Togetic with Defog and Starmie with Rapid Spin. I believe that's it. I think Charizard gets Defog, but if he brought Defog Mega Charizard X, then well, good on him, I suppose. But yeah, looking at the matchup, Salazzle, one of the reasons I wanted to make the transactions before this week came about was because I noticed the matchup that Salazzle had, and it absolutely tears Iyokuu's team to pieces, just with its dual stab, Sludge Wave and Flamethrower. So I decided to run a sub-Nasty Plot Toxic Plate set, because looking at his Pokemon, Charizard Sludge Wave, Tapu Bulu Sludge Wave, and I mean at +2, looking at Charizard Sludge Wave, Tapu Bulu Sludge Wave, Starmie Sludge Wave, Nidoking Flamethrower, Silvally, depends on the type he wants to bring, Diancie, Sludge Wave. I think Diancie is the only thing that can live something at +2 with a Toxic Plate, because it takes about, especially defensive Diancie, takes around 75% from +2 Sludge Wave. Outside of that, Rotom Frost dies to Flamethrower, Bisharp dies to Flamethrower, Togetic dies to Sludge Wave, Garbodor, unless it's like Assault Vest, dies to Flamethrower, and Sneasel dies to Flamethrower. So this is definitely a huge offensive threat, and if I can manage to get it in against, you know, something like the Sneasel, the Rotom Frost, the Togetic, things that will be forced out, I'll be able to get a Substitute up, get a Nasty Plot up, and start tearing into his team, which will be really, really nice. Pretty much max speed Timid, to outspeed and max speed Starmie. But yeah, basically the team was built around getting this Salazzle in safely, so I can set up Substitute and Nasty Plot. So you're going to see a fair amount of momentum on my team. Well, on the next 3 Pokemon, you're going to see it. Next up, we've got Sam Sullivan, the Landorusterian. Not bringing Z-Move this week, and I needed some sort of a switch into a Mega Charizard X. Granted, this still isn't perfect, but it's one of the best things I've got. Rocky Helmet, physically defensive Landorusterian with Stealth Rock, U-Turn, Earth Power and Sludge Wave. I'm running special attacks with Landorusterian because he does have his Tapu Bulu, which can set up the Grassy Terrain and weaken Earthquake. Earth Power after Rocks, well, even once it's Mega Evolve after Rocks, will knock out an offensive Mega Charizard X. Sludge Wave obviously destroys the Tapu Bulu unless it's something like Kibia Berry. And Ground and Poison covers his team fairly well, but the 2 attacks are mainly for his 2 like physically offensive Pokemon that will cause me a huge problem if they do come. Want to be careful of switching Landorus into Bisharp. Don't want to be giving it a Defiant boost, because that could be a little bit scary, but I think my Forester should be able to handle it. But yeah, Landorusterian is my Stealth Rocker this week. His removal is Starmie and Togetic, so I mean, it's not impossible for him to remove my Stealth Rocks, but I definitely want to get those up for the Charizard. More than anything, the Charizard, actually. It'd be really nice to chip away at things like the Togetic itself. It has to come in, take 25% if it wants to defog. And just chipping away at things like the Bulu, the Starmie, 25% off Rotom would be really nice. And U-Turn, because Landorusterian is bound to cause switches. And I will gain momentum that way. I mean, Togetic is definitely a potential switch into Landorusterian, so that would be great for getting Salazzle in, so I can set up Substitute, because outside of something like Hidden Power Ground, Salazzle Substitute will not be broken by Togetic. And Rocky Helmet on Landorusterian means that Charizard, if it wants to go for a Flare Blitz, it'll be taking a lot of recoil, hopefully after taking Rocks too, and then Rocky Helmet recoil. It should be really nice, should make it a lot easier to handle. After the Intimidate drop, even an Adamant Mega Charizard X can't 2-hit KO this Landorus with Flare Blitz. If it does Dragon Dance on the switch, I am 2-hit KO'd, but I'm not O-code, which is still really nice, so I can, even though Landorus will be, you know, severely damaged by a Charizard at neutral, I can definitely knock it out after Rocks. Speed on Landorusterian is for Tapu Bulu, Adamant Tapu Bulu, because I definitely want to outspeed that. Jolly Tapu Bulu, I don't really see the value in bringing Jolly, because I have such bulky Pokemon. I think he would definitely want to run Adamant. Yeah, basically, if he wants to bring Adamant Banded, I will outspeed that thing and be able to knock it out with the Sludge Wave, which is really, really nice. Now, first debutant, second debutant, I should say, coming to this matchup is my lovely horse, the Cobalion. If you're British, I hope you get that reference, because Father Ted is a wonderful, wonderful program. But regardless, I digress. Choice Scarf Cobalion wanted another check to the Charizard, and this is a pretty good one. I have enough speed Jolly with enough speed to outspeed a Mega Charizard X at +1, so if it Dragon Dances up, my Cobalion will still outspeed it. And I do have Stone Edge for that thing, which, granted, it does have to take an okay amount of chip damage before Stone Edge knocks it out, because I believe it does like 55 to 65 to max HP Mega Charizard X. But still, if it's taken rocks, if it's taken Rocky Helmet chip off my Landorus, Stone Edge will be able to revenge kill it. Volt Switch is really nice because if you look at Iyokou's lineup, really, Charizard, Stone Edge, Iron Head, Bulu, Starmie is probably his best switch into Cobalion. I can Volt Switch, predicting that thing to come in, get some nice chip off on it, because even though I am jolly, obviously Starmie's not the bulkiest Pokemon in the world, and should take some nice damage from Volt Switch. Nidoking, I can Iron Head that thing. Close Combat, Silvally. If he brings normal, obviously it depends on the type he brings, I'll have to, choose my move accordingly. Deontay, Iron Head, Bisharp, Close Combat, Rotom, Close Combat, Togetic, Iron Head, Garbodor, Iron Head, Sneasel, Close Combat. Cobalion has a really good matchup, not only in, checking Charizard X, but, doing a lot of damage to Iyokou's team too. And it can definitely gain me a lot of initiative, because obviously listing through the Pokemon that take a lot of damage from Cobalion, it is going to force switches. Cobalion, definitely see that putting in work. Max attack just through the rest in HP. Next up, we've got Fortress, who is not my hazard setter this week, because obviously Landorus is, but I want to protect my Salazzle. I don't want it having to take Stealth Rock damage. And it's also, again, another pseudo check to Mega Charizard X, because Fortress, max physically defensive Fortress with the red card, with Earthquake, Volt Switch, Gyro Ball, Rapid Spin. The red card is there so that if I'm in with something, if let's say Charizard is set up to +1, and it's not weak enough for Cobalion to revenge kill it, if I'm in with something that Charizard's going to Flare Blitz, like my Landorus probably, something like that, I can't switch into Fortress. But if it's going to Dragon Claw something like my Jellicent, which you can see there, I can switch into Fortress, live the hit, even if my Steady is not intact. I can live a Dragon Claw easily, and the red card will send Charizard out, meaning that it will have to come back in, hopefully on rocks, but the main thing is getting it out. Earthquake, obviously he does have a Tapu Bulu, so Earthquake's not ideal, but I do feel like I needed some sort of response to Bisharp, because Fortress is my best answer to Bisharp on this team. Well, defensive anyway, obviously Cobalion is there as an offensive check. Volt Switch, once again, Fortress causes a fair amount of switches, so again I can gain momentum this way. Gyro Ball is there because this is my best switch into a Tapu Bulu. Fortress does not get to it cured by Adamant Choice Banded Woodhammer, and I can do a ton to Tapu Bulu with Gyro Ball, which is really nice. And Rapid Spin, which is there obviously to get rid of hazards, because he does have a fair amount of hazard tears, and I don't want those up, especially Stealth Rock, because my Salazzle needs to be protected as much as possible for it to, because it is the win condition in this game. Going in. Next up, we've got Jellicent, cardboarded Jellicent, holding the Colbur Berry with Scald, Toxic, Shadow Ball, and Recover. Water Absorbability. I needed a decent switch into an offensive Starmie. This is one of the best things I have, and I have a second one that is coming up next, as you'll see. Granted, this Jellicent, if he does have, let's say, a Specs Thunderbolt, this Jellicent isn't going to appreciate it, but I think if he brings a Specs Starmie, that's actually good for me, in a way, because he can't lock himself into one move and do a ton to my entire team. And Jellicent is also not too bad against Charizard. It can at least whittle it down. It can take one hit, and it can do a fair amount with Scald, or it can Toxic it, which is nice. Jellicent also takes. I don't think it's 2-hit KO'd by. I forget the calcs exactly, so forgive me if I'm wrong. But I don't think it's 2-hit KO'd by Modest Life Orb, Earth Power. It's close, I know that. I think I might be after rocks, but regardless, I can take hits from a Scarf Nidoking really easily. Nidoking, it can't do too much to Jellicent. It has to be really offensive, at least, to do so. It has to have the boosting item. And this Jellicent takes on the Garbodor really well. I've got the Culver Berry just in case something like Sneasel or Bishop want to Pursuit Trap me, which I can definitely see coming. Because Jellicent is, very vulnerable to being Pursuit Trapped. I don't have Will-O-Wisp, I would have to hope for a Scald Burn too. Also, if he wants to switch in a Bishop on the Shadow Ball, God forbid, gets a special defense drop, he'll get the Defiant boost, which would be terrible for my team, but I will still be able to switch out due to the Culver Berry and save Jellicent for another day. Yeah, this Pokemon is really nice for his team. It can Toxic Pokemon like the Togetic, like the Diancie, like the Starmie. Obviously a Starmie can be Natural Cure, but once if it's Natural Cure, then it's not Analytic, so it's less of an offensive threat, which is really nice. But also, even if it is Natural Cure, eventually Toxic will force it out. I can Toxic the Charizard, like I said. Jellicent is really nice for, it's a decent glue to hold the team together. But an even gluier glue is Serenity, my Cresselia. Bringing Light Clear with Reflect, Psychic, Moonblast, Moonlight. This EV spread I actually really like because this Cresselia can take 2 unboosted Flare Blitzes from Mega Charizard X, a Jolly Mega Charizard X, and it can also take an Analytic Specs Hydro Pump from a Starmie, and then another one without the Analytic boost and Moonlight off the damage. So yeah, I really like this EV spread. That's exactly what it's there for. And also Cresselia is really difficult for his team to break. He has to bring Bishop, otherwise I'm not sure how he's going to break this outside of boosting up with his Charizard or Tapu Bulu. Really outside of those, he really struggles to break Cresselia. And that's why I have Reflect. Reflect is really nice for the Bishop. Bishop, if it wants to switch in. Pretty much as long as Bishop is around, I'm going to click Reflect almost first turn, pretty much first turn anyway, just in case. And it also is really nice for Charizard and Tapu Bulu as well, supports the rest of the team so they can't do too much damage. I'll have 8 turns where damage from things like the Bishop, like the Charizard, like the Tapu Bulu, damage will be reduced, which is really nice. I've got Psychic. Excuse me, I apologise. I've got Psychic for the Nidoking, which Cresselia walls pretty much all ends up. There's nothing Nidoking can do to touch me, not even Specs, Sludge Wave. 2 it goes. I think it might do 40% maximum, if that. Yeah, Psychic for things like the Nidoking, Charizard, Tapu Bulu. Moonblast is there because it hits things like the Sneasel. Psychic's nice for Garbodor. I can't do too much to the Togetic, but that's fine. I have plenty on my other Pokemon for the Togetic. Definitely I'm not staying in on Bishop ever, not even to click Moonblast unless I absolutely have to, because 30% chance that I give it a Defiant boost by lowering its special attack, so I do not want that to happen. But yeah, this Cresselia should give the rest of my team freer reign than they would have otherwise, just because of Reflect. That one move there, it really helps out the team against his physically offensive threats, because outside of his physical threats, I feel like my team can handle everything else. His special threats don't really concern me nearly as much as his physical threats. And yeah, ultimately, game plan is get rocks up Landorus, keep hazards off with Fortress, and pivot around so that I can set up a Sub Nasty Pot with Salazzle and sweep its team. That's the plan, in theory, at least. So yeah, we're about to find out if that plan actually works. So I'll be back with the battle in just a minute. Alrighty guys, we are back with the battle against Iyokuu. As you can see, there's my team on the bottom left, Cobalion, Salazzle, Landorus, Fortress Jellicent, Cresselia, and looking at my opponent's team, I see no Charizard and no Tapu Bulu, and I'm astounded, really. The Tapu Bulu I can kind of understand to a degree. There's a case that could be made that Tapu Bulu, you know, maybe shouldn't come, but Charizard, I was expecting 100% to not see that thing. Relieves me very much. Only thing about this is my Landorus is now a lot less useful, but it can still be a really nice pivot in this matchup. It can intimidate things, not the Bishop, and it can U-turn, and I still need it to get my rocks up. But if there is one expendable mon, it would be my Landorus as soon as I get my Stealth Rocks up. But what he did bring with this Starmie is Togetic, his Rotom Frost, his Bishop, his Diancie, and his Nidoking. Diancie I knew had to come for the Salazzle. Bishop I knew had to come for the Cresselia. He brings both forms of hazard removal that he has in Starmie and Togetic. Nidoking I can handle with Cresselia pretty easily, I believe, unless he's like a set that I didn't see coming at all. Rotom Frost is actually somewhat of an issue to this team. I feel like I know my Cresselia can handle it, but just like in week 1 against Ty and his Rotom Heat, I didn't want to switch Cresselia in hard on the Rotom just in case it was a trick set. So I'm going to need to scout out that Rotom Frost as soon as possible to know what it is. Then, as soon as I know what it is, I'll be able to act accordingly. If it's choiced, I have my Landorus for electric moves, I have my Jellicent for ice moves. And if it's not choiced, I have my Cresselia right there that can handle it. But yeah, I'm going to lead off with my Cobalion. I think it's a pretty good lead against his team. I mean, it will outspeed everything outside of Scarf Starmie, and as I said in the team builder, I don't expect him to bring choice locked Starmie. So I'm gonna throw my Cobalion out there as we start the battle, and let's see how week 4 goes. 2-1, hoping to win this 3-1, but Iyokuu's issuing the challenge. It says Blizz, but it's really Iyokuu. It says my lovely horse, no E on the end. Yeah, brilliant. But yeah, I'm just going to go for my Volt Switch because he leads with this Starmie. And I outspeed, so he is not Scarf Starmie. And I'm just going to switch into my Cresselia. Obviously it could have been Trick Starmie, but I think Trick Rotom is a lot more likely than Trick Starmie, as he just fires off Scald. Not doing too much to Cresselia. And he chose to be a Leftovers Starmie, and I'm going to do exactly what I said I would do in the team builder. I'm going to click Reflect, just in case the Bishop does come in, as it does. So I'm going to click Reflect, and I'm going to get out of there as soon as possible. I'm going to go straight into my Fortress. I mean, I don't mind losing my red card. The red card was mainly there for a set up Charizard, so I don't mind that getting knocked off. And I'm definitely going to be able to get initiative here. There's no way he is staying in with his Bishop in front of a Fortress that has Reflect up. So he is going to switch out into his Rotom, as I do go for the Volt Switch. Getting on out of there. And I'm going to go into my Salazzle now for the first time. First time Polonia's hitting the field this season, which is really nice. And I'm actually going to double out now, because I don't know if this is Scarfed. I didn't see Leftovers. If it is Scarfed, I don't want to take damage with it, so I'm going to go into my Landorus. Because if he was to go for something, it would be the electric type attack. So I double out into my Landorus, just scouting for the Scarf, because I know that if he does switch out, he will go into his Diancie, because it is the best thing he has to take on Salazzle, so it covered both, which was really nice. He is forced to switch out his Diancie fearing the Earthquake, as I will take this opportunity to set up my Stealth Rock. And he brings in his Togetic, which can defog away my Stealth Rock, but I'm not too concerned about that because I'm going to take this opportunity. If he does want to go for the defog, that's fine right now because I'm going to go straight into my Salazzle off his U-turn. He's not going to do anything. He's not going to do anything like Thunder Wave because I was a ground type. He just roosts, maybe scouting for the Continental Crush. Just, you know, scouting for the Stone Edge, something like that. And I'm going to go for the substitute, hoping he stays in. He does stay in, as he does go for the Thunder Wave, which is amazing because essentially this means that Salazzle gets a kill. Because I'm going to click Nasty Plot as Diancie does come in. And Diancie takes the rocks damage. And while it will live 1+2 Sludge Wave, it will not take 2. So, well, I'm not guaranteed to take something out. I mean, I still have to click Sludge Wave, so he could, you know, play around and try and keep his mons alive. But essentially, I mean, something is going to go down here, as I do go for the +2 Sludge Wave. And he shows that he is max special defense Diancie, taking about 75% from that. As he goes for the Trick Room. Trick Room I'm not too concerned about. I only have speed on 3 of my Pokemon. So unless he's like running 0 speed IVs and like minus speed natures on every single one of his Pokemon, Trick Room isn't something that really bothers me. I think I can play around it and waste Trick Room turns fairly easily. As he goes for the Diamond Storm, breaks my substitute, obviously. And I'll go for the Sludge Wave, knocking the Diancie out, which is fantastic because Diancie didn't get up Stealth Rocks, it didn't damage my Pokemon in any way, it just came in, broke his substitute, got up a Trick Room and died. But to be fair to him, to the Diancie, did get up Trick Room, which means that Nidoking comes in and I have to switch, otherwise I will die a horrible death to an Earth Power, but he does have to go for Earth Power because I am at +2. He can't really afford to overpredict, otherwise I'll knock out his Nidoking with Flamethrower. I'll go into my Cresselia, that's a really easy switch in. And I'm going to go for the Reflect again, as I did Wear Off a couple of turns ago, as he does go back into his Bisharp. I'm going to do this pretty much every time that I have to. I'm going to click Reflect. There's no way that I want to get Pursuit Trapped by like a banded Bisharp or anything like that. I don't want to risk that. It makes it a lot easier to switch into my Fortress. As he does go for the Sword Stance, showing that he is not Choice Banded, nor is he Choice Scarfed, as the Trick Room does wear off. But since the Reflect is up, this knockoff is only going to do about the same amount of damage as it did, lost my train of thought. It's only going to do as much as a neutral one, not a +2 one. That's what I meant to say. As I go for the Earthquake, get a good 50% off. I'm going to click Volt Switch this turn because if he wants to stay in and click Knockoff again, that's fine. I imagine he needs to save his Bisharp, especially for my Cresselia, as he does. He switches out into his Starmie. So I'm going to get some nice initiative off that. I'm going to go into my Jellicent. I could have gone into my Salazzle, but I would have had to have just clicked the attack, and I would have had to have clicked Sludge Wave, and I didn't really want to mess about with, you know, any, you know, predictions or losing momentum by him going into, you know, Bisharp and then having to play around with Sucker Punch. So I do go into my Jellicent, as he does click Recover with his Starmie. I'm not fearing this Starmie with regards to my Jellicent because he has shown leftovers. And the Shadow Ball does do around 55–60%, so Starmie cannot recover Stall me. He absolutely does have to switch out. At this turn I was a little scared of Bisharp coming in on a potential Shadow Ball and getting a special defense drop. That would have been really bad, but he just goes into his Rotom Frost. And like I said, once Stealth Rocks are up, my Landorus is my most expendable Pokemon, so expecting the electric type move, I'm just going to go into Landorus. If he does predict and go for Blizzard, fair play to him, that's fine, I'll lose my Landorus, but of all the Pokemon I wouldn't mind losing, this is the one. As he goes for the Will-O-Wisp, decent play on his part. I'm just going to click U-turn now. If he is running like max speed Rotom, he will outspeed me and knock me out with Blizzard anyway, but he does decide to switch out as I click U-turn. No reason for me to click anything else. As the Togetic does come out, and it's rinse and repeat. Last time I was able to switch into Togetic with my Salazzle, I subbed and went for Nasty Plot, and that's exactly what I'm going to do again, because Togetic again stays in. This time not going for Thunderwave though, does go for the Tailwind. So once again, even though it doesn't look like he's got any Scarfed Pokemon, Salazzle could have had a really nice chance to sweep, but it actually looks like because of Trick Room and now Tailwind, that's not going to happen. But Salazzle is going to get another kill here, regardless, as he brings in his Nidoking, which is not a terrible sack on his part. I have Cresselia for Nidoking, as he just goes for the Earth Power. Because of the Tailwind, he will outspeed and he will break my substitute. And I will go for the Flamethrower, knocking out this Nidoking, getting Salazzle its second kill in its debut match, which is really sweet. And at this point, I've got a pretty healthy advantage, 6-4. As he goes into his Bisharp, the Bisharp under Tailwind will outspeed me, so I'm going to switch out. If he goes for Pursuit, that's a really good play on his part if he has it, but he does not, as I go into my Fortress. And he just clicks Knock Off again. Fortress takes that fairly well. That did 48. I have 52 left. He needs a really high roll to knock me out. I'm just going to click Volt Switch again because I can just go into Cobalion if he does decide to stay in. As he switches in his Starmie. And Fortress is going to get a kill. It's going to knock out this Starmie with Volt Switch. And now I am up 6-3. And his remaining Pokemon are Rotom Frost, Bisharp and Togetic. So I'm just going to go into my Cobalion because it takes on all of those really well. And he switches into his Togetic, takes 25%, so Togetic is at around 50%. And at this point, Iyokuu admits defeat and forfeits the match, because ultimately you would only have seen maybe 5 more turns, really. Essentially all I had to do was click Iron Head, like for the repeatedly for however many turns it would have taken for it to kill Bisharp, because Bisharp wouldn't have knocked out my Cobalion, nowhere. It would have needed a low kick to do anything to my Cobalion, and I would have knocked out the Rotom after it took 25%. Obviously the Togetic wouldn't have taken an Iron Head unless it was like max physically defensive, and with all of these turns there's a chance to flinch as well. So you know, I completely understand deciding to, you know, just give it up as a bad job, because Cobalion would have cleaned up those 3 kills, and that is what the record books will say, that Cobalion did get those 3 kills, which is really nice. So even though I didn't really get to see them, which would have given me a bit more satisfaction, it's still good to know that in their debut matches, Cobalion and Salazzle combined got 5 of the 6 kills, and that means that Vulpix City defeat the Blackthorn City Frogadiers, the Blackthorn City Frogadiers, 6-0 essentially, which is fantastic. I was delighted with how I played. I felt the prep and the play went as well as I could have hoped. The pivoting into Salazzle so it could set up on things like the Togetic, which I targeted in prep, was just fantastic. Salazzle was as threatening in the match as it looked like it would be on paper. And every Pokemon every Pokemon did the job really well. And I'm, delighted. 3-1 now, after week 4 of season 4 of the NPCC. So, you know, it's been a good couple of weeks, but next week, week 5, that's a big one. I'm going up against my very good friend Jacob, as always, and his Green Bay Pikachus. So that is a huge matchup that you should definitely check back here to see how it went. And yeah, if you enjoyed, please do like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and I will see you next week for week 5. Peace.